Maggie Dolan. Maggie Dolan is a life scientist under the Mobile Sources and Indoor Air Quality section at the Environmental Protection Agency. She started working at the agency in April of 2024. Currently, she works as a technical project officer for several grant programs, including Clean School Bus and Climate Pollution Reduction grants. She also engages in regional outreach activities and is a partner of the Southeastern Team Reducing Impacts of Diesel Emissions, STRIDE Collaborative. Prior to working at the EPA, she worked as an academic research assistant at 2 universities and as a lab technician in the pharmaceutical industry. Maggie holds 2 bachelor's degrees in the fields of chemistry and marine science. Let's welcome Maggie.
All right, thank you so much, Tyra. I appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. I hope everyone is well and safe on this Friday. I'm very excited to tell you guys about the Clean School Bus Program and the most recent funding opportunity. So today we're going to be talking about the Clean School Bus Program as a whole, and then we will get into specifics about our current round of funding available through the 2024 rebate program. We'll talk about how to apply and the resources available to assist with the application process. Next slide, please. So here's just a quick disclaimer. We are here to provide information only today, and we do not endorse any specific companies, products, or organizations. Next slide, please. So let's start with an overview of the Clean School Bus Program. The program was created by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which provides the EPA with $5 billion over 5 years to fund the replacement of existing school buses with zero emission or clean school buses. The 2024 rebate program is the 4th funding opportunity of this program. Next slide. And so far, between both the 2022 and 2023 rebate programs, the EPA has nationally awarded $1.8 billion in rebates. And this has funded 6,000 buses in over 900 school districts. Most recently, with the 2023 rebates, EPA awarded $130 million in rebates to states in the Southeast. And this will fund the replacement of 482 buses in 65 school districts. And we've received positive feedback that many schools have gotten a positive response from students, drivers, parents, and faculty about their awarded buses. Next slide. And for the grant program, the EPA has nationally awarded $965 million to replace over 2,700 school buses. $172 million of that pot was awarded to the Southeast. And here in the tables, we see the breakdown of those funds being dispersed. So the top table there shows individual applications that received funds, and the bottom table shows an additional 21 counties who will be awarded through third parties. Next slide. So now we'll talk about this new round of Clean School Bus rebate funding that just became available. Next slide. So for this round of funding, the EPA is offering up to $965 million. And as it was last year, eligible activities include the replacement of existing internal combustion engine buses with electric, propane, or compressed natural gas school buses, as well as the purchase and installation of electric vehicle supply equipment infrastructure. So the EPA is continuing to prioritize applications that will replace school buses serving low-income rural or tribal communities. And the biggest changes to note here is that the maximum number of buses that can be purchased has increased to 50, whereas last year it was 25, but the funding per bus has decreased. Also, the minimum number of buses that can be purchased is still 1, and the number of buses requested on an application is not going to impact the application selection process. Next slide. So similar to past programs, eligible applicants include state and local government entities, so those are your school districts. There'll also be public charter school districts, Indian tribes, tribal organizations, tribally controlled schools, nonprofit school transportation associations, as well as eligible contractors. Next slide. And here are a few more details about the prioritization criteria. So applicants that fall into the high need school districts and the low income areas include any school districts that for the 2022 small area income and poverty estimates, or otherwise known as SAPE, if they had 20% or more of their students living in poverty. And the last two bullet points there are for applicants that can self-certify as a high need school district if they are not listed in the SAFE data. And this can be indicated on your application. Additionally, applicants can be prioritized under our rural criterion if they have their school district identified within locale code 43, or otherwise known as rural remote. And finally, any school that receives any support payments for children who reside on Indian land or a Borough of Indian Affairs funded school are also considered prioritized under this program and are eligible to receive higher levels of funding. And you can read more about that on the program guide. But all this being said, if your school district is not considered a priority district, please don't let this discourage you. In previous rebate opportunities, approximately 40% of rebate funds went to non-priority school districts, and we expect a similar outcome for this round as well. Next slide. So this table shows that the funding is based on prioritization status, the size of the bus, and the fuel type of the bus. So in the top left corner there, you'll see that the highest amount that can be awarded is $325,000 per bus, and that includes eligible charging infrastructure. So having one pool of funding for both the bus and the infrastructure allows applicants to determine how they want to split those funds amongst their eligible expenses. Additionally, any applicant, regardless of requested fuel type or prioritization status, can request an extra $20,000 per bus in order to purchase an ADA compliant school bus that is equipped with wheelchair lifts. So you might notice the funding amounts are a little bit lower compared to last year, but there are tax credits that most selectees are eligible for through the Inflation Reduction Act via the IRS and the Treasury. And these can subsidize the purchase of buses and infrastructure. Next slide, please. So just to touch on that a little bit more, I'll preface this by saying that the EPA cannot give tax advice, but there are various webinars available that dive deeper into the tax credits, which can be found on the EPA Clean School Bus website. But just to get an idea of the different options that are available, selectees may be eligible for the Commercial Clean Vehicle Credit, which provides up to $40,000 for qualified commercial clean vehicles, and the Alternative Fuel Vehicle Refueling Property Credit, which provides up to $100,000 for qualified charging and refueling infrastructure. Selectees may be eligible to claim all or a portion of the value of these IRA credits, so please see the IRS website for more information on that. Next slide. Eligibility information for the existing school buses, the new school buses, and infrastructure can all be found in the program guide. In addition, I just wanted to briefly mention the Build America, Buy America requirements, or BABA for short. This requires that all iron, steel, manufactured products, and construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects are produced in the United States. So for the purposes of this program, school buses are not subject to the BABA requirements, but electric chargers and the supporting equipment are. And again, more information about this can be found in the program guidance and on the website. Next slide. So here's just an overview, very general overview of the application process. We'll first talk about steps 2 through 4, and then we'll go ahead and discuss some tools and resources to help you get started. So starting there on the second line, first thing you're going to want to do is register with sam.gov as soon as possible. For any help with sam.gov, you can reach out to the Federal Service Desk, and that website is www.fsd.gov. Once your organization has been registered, you've established a point of contact, and you've obtained what is called your unique entity identifier, you can then start the application. Next slide. So for your application, you're going to need some supplemental application documents. All of these documents verify the awareness of the project with the parties involved, including the school board, the school district, and the utility company. And which of these documents you'll need is going to depend on whether you're applying directly or as a third party on behalf of the school district, and what kind of buses you're looking to buy. You're going to be asked what kind of applicant type you are. So are you a school district or a third party or a Borough of Indian Lands district? You'll be asked to provide your school district information, primary and alternate business contacts for your organization, and information on both the existing buses to be replaced and the new replacement buses intended to be purchased. And it should take about 3 hours to complete the application, but you can save your work and come back to it in multiple sessions. If you do that, just please note you'll be logged out of the form after 15 minutes of inactivity. So just plan to save frequently to avoid any loss of entered information. Next slide. So a very big part of the rebate and grant program as well is to have workforce planning and opportunities for development. So we do want to ensure that the workers themselves are heard throughout this process and that they're being trained on how to use the new equipment and the technology. And costs that are associated with workforce development are an eligible use of the program funds. Next slide. So now let's discuss some resources to help you get started, and then we'll discuss the selection process. Next slide. So you can find all of these resources on the EPA Clean School Bus website. Here you can find information that we have on technical assistance, workforce development, and any educational materials. So let's discuss a few of these links. Next slide. The EPA has a utility engagement pledge. And this was launched because we heard from many school districts that the installation of the charging infrastructure was a big challenge when pursuing their Clean School Bus project. So EPA has a utility pledge with two national electric utility company organizations, and these are Edison Electric Institute and Beneficial Electrification League. And they provide a host of resources for school districts, including the facilitation of communication between the school districts and their electric providers. And coordinating with your utilities is a vital step in this process, so we really want to highlight that. And again, you can learn more about the EPA Utility Pledge on our technical assistance page. Next slide. And as a part of our technical assistance, the EPA has coordinated with the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation. They can provide assistance to applicants and selectees for various tasks as shown on this slide. The EPA hosts webinars about our partnership with JOET, so please register for the webinar if you would like more information. And if you are interested in getting free technical assistance to plan your school bus transition, you can apply for a Clean School Bus Planning Award through the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL for short. And there you will find details about eligibility, transition plans, timelines, and application requirements. And the applications are open on a rolling basis. And just one final note on that, the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation also offers an online forum where fleet staff of school districts can ask questions, share experiences, and discuss approaches to clean school bus initiatives. So links to all of those resources are found at the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. Oh, I think I went backwards. There we go. Yes, so for selection and notification, there will be two funding pools, zero emission and clean school bus. So applications will be placed in a single order list using a random number generator lottery process and selected for funding from the top to the bottom of the random number order list. And to ensure a broad geographic distribution of the funds, the EPA will select at least one application per state or territory. So prioritized applicants will be selected within each funding pool, and at least 60% of the funding from each pool will be awarded to prioritized school districts. And applicants who are not selected by the lottery will remain in the random number order and on a wait list for 90 days after the initial selection notification. And we anticipate notifying selectees by around the spring of 2025. And once selected, the selectees have 6 months to submit their payment request form with scans of their purchase orders for the new buses and infrastructure. Next slide. All right, and finally, the project period deadline and closeout form must be submitted by May of 2027. The closeout form is going to require a couple of things. It'll require proof of what happens to the old buses. So this might be scrappage photos and documentation, or a documentation of the sale, or a documentation of donation. You'll need scans of invoices and proofs of delivery for the new buses and the eligible infrastructure. You will need one photo of the exterior of each new bus labeled with the last 4 digits of the bus VIN number, and one photo of each charging pedestal if EPA funds were used for charging infrastructure. Next slide. And this is just to sum up some of the important dates. The program is now open, so please visit our website at epa.gov/clean-school-bus for our most recent webinars on this topic. The final date to submit questions is November 14th of 2024, and the applications are due by January 9th at 4 p.m. And again, the project period deadline and closeout form must be submitted by May of 2027. Next slide. And that's what I have for you. Thank you so much for having me today, and looking forward to answering your questions.